Hello everybody, welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Thank you very much for joining me. This is the daily news for Monday, October 23rd, the day before United kick off against FC Copenhagen in a very important must-win game in the Champions League. But today we've got news on potential replacements for Erik ten Hag, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his team identifying possible successors should Erik ten Hag continue to struggle with the club. We also have fan reaction and pundit reaction to how well Sofyan Amrabat did with Sheffield United in Casemiro's absence. So a very bright start for Amrabat in midfield. We'll be looking into that a little bit as well. Also, calls for Alejandro Garnacho to potentially start ahead of one Marcus Rashford, given how poorly he's been playing recently and the excitement surrounding Garnacho and the impact that he's been able to make off the bench. Again, playing quite well against Sheffield United. There is calls for him to be coming into the team. We'll be looking into that. And also transfer news. An AC Milan midfielder, another Dutch man, being linked with the club. Also, Casemiro potentially unhappy at United at the moment, and United already looking at replacements on who to bring in into that defensive midfield position, potentially to partner Amrabat. Is it someone that can learn off Casemiro? Is it someone to replace Casemiro? All that and a little bit more on today's news, so let's get into it. So first up in news is United now being linked with potentially two ex-Chelsea bosses. So Football 365, the article by Lewis Oldham. Here we see the two boys, Graham Potter and Carlo Ancelotti. According to reports, Potter would be in the running to replace Ten Hag if United did decide to sack the Dutchman. The Red Devils have endured a tough start, etc., etc. We've read all about this in every article since the beginning of the season. So before United beat Sheffield United 2-1 on Saturday, Spanish journalist Benjamin Lopez claimed United have verbally offered the manager's job to Real Madrid boss Carlo Ancelotti. I don't know how true this is, because there was talk of Ratcliffe and the INEOS group being quite happy with Ten Hag and willing to give him more time, with them seeing most of the problems at United coming from the board. Transfer decisions, of course, we've heard Paul Mitchell being linked to take over the sporting director to have a little bit more control and a little bit more of a sensible approach to United's transfer strategy. And recent articles I've seen has Carlo Ancelotti going to Brazil, of all places, once his time at Madrid is up at the end of this season, with potentially Mourinho coming in. So the ex-Chelsea and Everton head coach being heavily linked. And while this report should be taken with a pinch of salt, a heavy dose of salt, in my opinion, it seems as though Ten Hag should have credit in the bank after his impressive debut season. And the son of all places are reporting that Potter could also be in the frame. He's been out of work, obviously, since losing his job at Chelsea. It didn't go that well, but they're claiming that Potter is also waiting on Napoli. Napoli looking to make a change potentially in their head manager. The Serie A champs want to speak to Potter about becoming their new boss, with Antonio Conte also in the running. Potter is still well regarded by the Italians for his work at Brighton, despite a nightmare spell at Chelsea. And Luciano Spalletti, obviously having won the Scudetto with Napoli, they've slumped since Rudy Garcia has taken charge. So a little bit of a change up being looked at Napoli. So Potter being in the mix for United, I don't see that one happening. I hope to God it does, and that's nothing against Graham Potter. I think he's quite a decent manager, but we've seen Brighton go from strength to strength since his departure, and it just screams David Moyes 2.0. He was given a shot at a big club like Chelsea, and that was equally as chaotic and circus-like, which United probably will be if anything happens Ten Hag. So I don't think Potter's the man to come in and change that, but it has got a little bit of legs, this article. I don't know whether it's a slow news day. Potter is a possible candidate for United when Sir Jim Ratcliffe's team takes charge, if the Red Devils owner in waiting decide to get rid of Erik ten Hag. Owner in waiting, a little bit of a I don't know, an overstatement, given that he'll be a minority stakeholder, but it looks like he will have quite a strong say in footballing matters at the club. So Ratcliffe's sidekick, Brailsford, who I went into a little bit of detail on one of my previous episodes. Check it out. You'll see his face in the thumbnail, with a three-man committee apparently being put together in conjunction with Joel Glazer to try and, set the ship straight with regards to transfers and things like that, who is set to be the football face of the takeover. He is a Potter fan and wanted him at French side Nice. However, Nice is a very different beast to Manchester United. So how much there is in this, I don't know. The Mirror, obviously, having a little bit of a say on this as well, kind of going along the same lines of what everybody is saying. Ratcliffe is expected to overhaul the club's support staff, and it does look like there could be a change in management as well. But it's already been said that he is a fan of Ten Hag. I don't see this happening. Brailsford likes Potter, but again, liked him for a smaller project, which is Nice. I'm sure he could do quite well, but I think the United job would be a little bit too big for him. So that's the news so far. I still have full faith in Erik Ten Hag. I think the problems extend far beyond Erik Ten Hag. I think a lot of other things need to be taken care of before that becomes something that we can look into. In other news, after the Sheffield United game, it does look like Sofyan Amrabat has impressed everyone from pundits and fans alike. Harry Maguire getting the Man of the Match award after the game. He had a decent game by all accounts, but Sofyan Amrabat for me and for many others was the standout player in a reasonably poor outing from most of United's players, but Sofyan Amrabat did really stand out in his more favoured midfield position. Of course, he has been kind of put out onto the left as a bit of an emergency defensive player in the absence of Reguilon and Shaw and, of course, Malacia. So Sofyan Amrabat produced a solid performance to power United's 2-1 win over Sheffield United in the Premier League. And just to look at some of his stats, 84% passing accuracy, 79 touches, 53 out of 63 passes completed. And this is where the interesting kind of stats come in. And this is why we got him. And this is what he was doing at Fiorentina as well. 9 out of 9 duels won, 6 out of 6 ground duels won, 5 out of 5 tackles, 4 out of 4 long balls completed, 3 out of 3 aerial duels won, and 3 ball recoveries. So a lot of United fans super impressed with him, much less rash than Casemiro. We've a reliable DM starting. Casemiro should never start over him again. Casemiro's getting a lot of shit at the moment, and it's kind of, it's justified in a way, but this guy's quality is not in doubt. He had such a great impact last season. He really helped bring a little bit of stability and gave us a great shield for the defense. Even though we conceded 43 goals last season, 17 of them came in 3 games. So in a 35-game season, United only conceded about 25, 26 goals. That is championship winning form. I've said this on other videos previously, and Casemiro was a huge contributor to that. So that just doesn't disappear overnight. Casemiro did play more games for United last season as a 30-year-old than he ever had for Real Madrid in La Liga. And that is in a league where he's playing for a Madrid team that is predominantly in possession, not on the back foot, not defending as much as United would be currently. So I think Casemiro I think he's just a bit knackered at the moment. There was a World Cup. There was obviously a long preseason, transatlantic, coast to coast in the US. Casemiro will be back. You don't just lose that kind of quality in the space of a season. So I think he just needs to be given a rest. I think rotation with Casemiro could work really well. I'd love to see the two of them play together. So yeah, a lot of positivity around Amrabat's performances, and I think it's quite clear that he's going to be starting for the Copenhagen game. And yeah, a really good start to his United career, and a lot of people quite excited that he's there to pick up the slack that Casemiro seems to be bringing into that midfield area. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can do in the Copenhagen game, a very important game that we really do need to win, and win convincingly. So again, more here from United in Focus. United fans all saying the same thing about Sofyan Amrabat. There seems to be a lot of excitement about him, and Diogo Dalot describing as a beast in the aftermatch tweets coming out from a lot of the players. And they're saying here he almost won the game for United himself with his pile driver of a shot crashed off the woodwork. Of course, he did have that unlucky shot coming off the bar. It was a great strike. So unlucky he didn't go in. I think everybody's willing this guy to have a great start to his career. He is only on loan, of course, but I think that was just a formality due to the FFP rules. I think it's quite clear that he's going to be coming in full time for United once the window opens back up in the summer. So yeah, I think his future at United is pretty cemented, and a lot of people were calling for him to start ahead of Casemiro, even if Casemiro was fit to play. But of course, that decision was made for Ten Hag, given Casemiro's recent kind of little injury niggles while on international duty. But yeah, a really, really good start, and all the fans seem to be very, very excited about him. So yeah, again, can't wait to see him coming in and see what he can do. More news on who should be playing for United in the Copenhagen game. A lot of people saying Garnacho had a great impact when he came on against Sheffield United, and he did. He seems to be making a big impact as a sub, coming on when maybe the opposition is a bit more tired. He's been given 3 starts so far in cup games, and his performances haven't been as exciting or as impactful as his performances off the bench. But again, he's only young, and he's trying to find find his feet. And he seems to be doing well in games that are already kind of up and running and where we need him to make an impact, and he does. So showing great maturity and being able to come in and turn a game on its head and making huge contributions last year in rescuing games, getting us points across the board. And Marcus Rashford has not been playing well. I mean, obviously he got that goal for England, but despite that goal with that great link up with Jude Bellingham, he didn't play particularly well the entire game. But he did obviously take his opportunity when it came. He just does not seem to be playing that well for United, and his kind of demeanor on the pitch wasn't that strong against Sheffield United. He looked a little bit, I don't know, just a little bit low, and he just does not seem to have the confidence he had last year. And at the end of the day, we can talk about mental health and players struggling and pressure and anxiety, but it's just one of these things where if he can't get it together, he has to be dropped. There can't be any passengers. I've said this before. I mean, would Marcus Rashford be getting a game given his current form for Manchester City, Liverpool, even Newcastle, or even Brighton, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, all the big teams, both in Europe and domestically in the Premiership? Marcus Rashford would be dropped like a hot shit. And he keeps being persisted with. Now, I can understand Ten Hag doing that, given all the fuss over Jadon Sancho and with Anthony as well, with obviously his off the pitch stuff, obviously Greenwood as well, and other problems around the pitch, the takeover. The last thing he needs is to drop Rashford, and then there's this big hoo-ha about it. But if Rashford plays himself out, he plays himself out. And I think it's time we gave Garnacho a start on that left-hand side and maybe brought Mason Mount in on the right and maybe try Pellistri. Garnacho is a right-footed player, so we can play him on the right as well if he wants to persist with Marcus Rashford. But I think it's time that Garnacho was given a start and kind of allowed to prove himself and to pick up the slack that Marcus Rashford is presenting. So he's being kind of compared to as a bit of a super sub in the days of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, being a bit of a victim of his impact coming off the bench, that he was just better coming off the bench than being a starter. But would you believe he has this super sub tag? Solskjaer scored more goals starting for United than he did as a sub, which is quite an unbelievable stat. He's kind of remembered for his impact off the bench, but Solskjaer scored a lot of goals starting as well. So hopefully Garnacho can do the same thing. So a lot of calls for Garnacho to be starting against Copenhagen. I would agree with that. And I certainly hope that he gets a start either on the left or the right. But I think at this stage, with United's lack of goals up front, us consistently having to rely on our defenders. I mean, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Varane combining for that goal against Wolves. And again, with Lindelof combining with Dalot to rescue a Scott McTominay, another fringe player that should have been or could have been sold, starting due to our injury concerns, again rescuing us and getting us a goal. He didn't play that well in the game. I don't think Scott McTominay has done enough as a start to be a starter. His performance for the game wasn't great. But again, he did get that goal, but he's not there to get goals. He's there to kind of control the midfield, and he didn't really do a great job of that. That was mostly on Amrabat, and McTominay didn't really impress too much, despite the fact he got a goal. So a lot of calls for Garnacho to start. I hope he does. The starlet's quickly approaching half a century of games for United, and he's still just 19. Exciting winger. Obviously, he's got the number 17 jersey. He didn't get the number 7. I think, does Sancho still have that? And yeah, maybe he'll be getting that jersey after January if we manage to get rid of him. I don't think he can do that mid-season, but who knows? So yeah, he's only started 3 games so far this season, and only 14 of his total 46 appearances have been from the starting whistle. And every time he's been introduced from the bench, his directness and trickery give United an extra spark and dimension, and that's absolutely true. So an interesting article there from the Manchester Evening News on Garnacho. They're calling for him to start. I would fully agree. Fingers crossed he gets the nod on Tuesday evening against Copenhagen in what is a very must-win game. In transfer news, it looks like Manchester United are being linked with AC Milan midfielder Tijani Reindeers. So maybe Erik ten Hag will be playing some Reindeers games. Ha ha! Sorry for the shit joke, but I couldn't help myself. So United linked with AC Milan midfielder Tijani Reindeers ahead of a potential transfer. I don't see much in this. He's kind of a box-to-box midfielder. He has played defensively. He has played centrally. He has played in attack. He's a guy that's kind of come into his own in the last 2 or 3 years in the Eredivisie, and now looking to kind of turn heads at Milan. He's had 11 games. He's only got 2 assists. It's not exactly, hugely, impressive kind of statistics. He's 25 and he's gone from the Eredivisie just to Italy recently. I kind of question fellas that are just kind of really starting to kind of show form in the last kind of, in the middle of their career, essentially. But Rangers being linked, I don't see much in this. I mean, with the likes of Hannibal Mabry or Mejbri and Kobe Mainu looking to come back as well. He did play in that friendly against Barnsley, the behind closed doors friendly. Obviously, a little bit of a delay in his return, but I don't think United are short in midfield options once everybody is fit. So Rangers is not someone that I would be particularly excited about signing. They're saying here the paper claims that he's monitoring Milan midfielder Tijani Reinders after Erik ten Hag faced fresh criticism for the volume of former Eredivisie players he has signed. And Reinders started for AZ Alkmaar across 5 seasons in the Netherlands before joining Milan this summer, and he's also been capped at international level. He's impressed in 10 appearances, and he's now being linked with a move to Old Trafford. There's the young lad there. I don't want this to happen, but again, United being linked with them, but midfield is not the area we need to be looking at. We need another striker. We need another potentially right wing forward, if that's not somewhere Garnacho is going to make his own. And so we're being linked with them, but who knows what's going to happen. Also, in the Manchester Evening News, there's talk about replacements for Casemiro. There's lots of rumors going around at the moment that Casemiro has kind of recently stated that he regrets joining United and that they're a club in turmoil. His agent has since come out and said, listen, he signed a 4-year deal with the option of an extra year. He came to United to win trophies. He understands that it's been a tough year and that he hasn't been performing as well as he could, but that he's fully committed to the Manchester United project, and he's not going anywhere, and he has no intention of wanting to leave United anytime soon. But maybe it's not going to be up to him. United are looking to potentially pay £61 million for a replacement for Casemiro in the form of João Neves, the young Benfica midfielder, defensive midfielder, who is getting a lot of attention in the Portuguese league. He's a highly rated teenager, plays as a defensive midfielder for the Portuguese side, and he's recently kind of signed a contract extension, and it's going to cost around £60 million to get the young man to sign for United. There's a lot of clubs looking at him as well. He recently got his international start for Portugal, playing in midfield when he came on against Bosnia. You can see here that he signed a contract extension in August until 2028. But of course, that's just to secure the value of the player. Benfica are a selling club, and they've been making a lot of money recently with the players that they've been selling, from Gonzalo Ramos, obviously Darwin Núñez. Now they've got Antonio Silva playing centre half as well, another player United are being linked with. And Nacional, a Spanish newspaper, they're claiming that United are ready to put in a concrete offer for him. Nacional is the same paper that has also been kind of spreading stories about Casemiro being unhappy with United, or unhappy at United at the moment. But how much stock you can put in that, I don't quite know. Again, this is the young lad here. This is João Neves. They're saying 100 million this time, 60 million in other papers. Who knows? But he's a little tough tackling midfielder, 5'7", young lad, seems to be the new kind of jewel in the Portuguese midfield that's going to be up and coming. So what happens there remains to be seen. So that's pretty much all the news at the moment. Other than that, there is talk about Paul Mitchell coming in as the sporting director from Monaco. Of course, he's done great work at Tottenham under Pochettino. He was there at Southampton as well. He's since moved on to Monaco, and he just seems to have a very keen eye for good young players. He was involved with Dele Alli to Spurs. He was involved with Sadio Mane, Dusan Tadic, and a whole host of other great young players who've gone on to do fantastic things at various clubs. So Paul Mitchell coming in. Again, this is another reason why I think Ten Hag is bulletproof at the moment. I don't think that Ratcliffe or any of the boys coming in are going to be looking to get rid of Ten Hag. I think Paul Mitchell could work very well with Ten Hag, given that they have a huge appreciation for youth and identifying good players. And I think that combination will create a new project to build a team in the image of Ten Hag, and to see what they can do over the next 2 to 3 years. So that's pretty much it for all the paper talk today. So that rounds up all the latest paper talk with regards to United. What do you guys think? What do you make of the Graham Potter links? Would you take Carlo Ancelotti if he was available at the end of the year, depending on Erik ten Hag and how he's doing? But He's a manager I've always wanted at United, and if he was available, it'd be great to see that guy take charge if Erik ten Hag was to lose his seat in the dugout. But I, for one, am very much in the keep ten Hag camp. I think a lot around the club needs to be put right before we can cast any sort of judgmental eye on ten Hag and how his recent results have been going. What do you make of those transfer rumours as well? Do you think we need more midfield reinforcements this Reindeers games that ten Hag could potentially be playing? Once again, thank you very much for joining in. Leave your comments, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you on the next one.